Hey guys, I hope you're hungry. Welcome back to Full On Sense. My name is Jericho, and I am joined today by TheIceMann to continue our discussion of Star Wars movies.
Thanks again for having me, Jericho.
So last time we discussed The Phantom Menace, so that means we are on to Attack of the Clones. Unlike George Lucas, we're just going to go through these in order. Oh, ho, ho. Hey, that'll be a quarter for saying my name in vain. All right, so to me, Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie. And it's a little like saying that strawberry is the worst ice cream, but it still isn't. Yeah, I know. It's just like the first one I thought that came to mind. But I think Attack of the Clones is the one that most exemplifies the problems with the prequels. Like, it doesn't have Jar Jar, but the problems that really affect me more, like hammy dialogue, weird situations, the plot not making sense, is all at its worst in Attack of the Clones. So, what do you have to say to that?
I mean, yeah, to your point where you say it's like strawberry is the worst ice cream flavor. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I love it, and I'm happy every single time I watch it. So maybe, what did we said it the other day? It's like the furthest from perfection.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Because I still totally love it, and it still has some great scenes. Just to jump right into it, one of my favorite subplots of any Star Wars movie is when Obi-Wan is by himself investigating the clones. It's like film noir. If he's just like a hard-boiled detective, you know, he goes to the bar to get information, and he, you know, goes to the library, and he was like trying to investigate this like conspiracy about these clones. And then when he finds it and meets up with Jango Fett, it leads to, you know, an amazing, you know, kind of duel of words before probably the best fight between non-Force users in the whole franchise.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess that's not that much of a statement, but still, the whole Camino part of the movie is just like the pod race in Episode 1. It's a weaker Star Wars movie, but it's held up by an amazing segment. So, what are some of your things that you most enjoy about Attack of the Clones?
I want to talk about the scene that I absolutely enjoy the most, or maybe it's two scenes kind of divided by some Obi-Wan stuff. But when Anakin goes to Tatooine, excuse me, to save his mother.
Oh yeah, yeah.
After she dies, and he sees the what do they call them? I can't think right now. The Tusken Raiders.
Right.
The look that he gets on his face, like, people like to give Hayden Christensen a lot of crap for his acting, and I will admit that he's lacking sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the best. His facials are second to none.
Right.
I love just the look in his face, just the pure hatred. I know that's weird to say. I love it, but it's wonderful.
Well, yeah, it's like so encapsulated, just like complete rage. Like, there's no like, oh, I'm sad about my mom. Like, he already isn't sad about his mom anymore. All he cares about is getting revenge and killing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time that Anakin really embraces the dark side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's absolutely channeling the dark side. I wonder if he's aware of that.
Right. I think so, and because later when he's back at the homestead and kind of confessing to Padme about it, you know, I think that's why. Like, I mean, of course he feels bad because he killed, you know, women and children and all the rest of it, but I think he also knows that he like betrayed the Jedi, and that's why it's like deeper to him than it seems.
Well, that was the second scene that I was going to talk about. That's kind of, they go together, is when they say not just the men, the women, children too. I hate them. And then Imperial March plays.
Mm-hmm.
I get goosebumps every single every single time I watch that. It's love it.
So really, the middle of Attack of the Clones is like the best, because I really like the Obi-Wan stuff. I mean, I like Anakin stuff too, but you know, you mentioned Anakin going back to find his mother. But the beginning and the ending to me are not as strong. And then, well, really, I guess those are more. Gosh, It's a long movie. There's a lot of stuff that happens. It is the longest Star Wars movie, but like I'm thinking about where everything takes place, because I was going to talk about how the Anakin and Padme romance is to me the weakest part of any Star Wars movie. Like the scenes on Naboo, like just like not really like it has to happen at all, and it could have been a lot worse, but just like the dialogue, really, not even how they deliver the lines some of the times, but
I don't like sand.
yeah, me neither. Yeah, it's.
In theory, I love it, but yeah, the scenes by the lake when they're at the dinner table, yeah, it's just bad acting. It's weird that the actors, those two actors, they don't have great chemistry. I don't think.
No, I totally agree with that.
Heard it as well, you know.
Because they're both good actors and have been good elsewhere, but just for whatever reason, it just doesn't really get across. And I think, I guess this might be sort of a weird thing to say, but when they're like passionate, like once, like in episode 3, once they're already married, or when they're like, you know, being really romantic or kissing or whatever, it's better. It's when they're trying to be flirtatious that it doesn't come across well at all. Like, to me, like the nadir, like the very worst point is when they're just sitting and having their little picnic, when he talks about that everyone in the galaxy should be made to understand I'm much too frightened to tease a senator. Like
Why?
Yeah.
You're a Jedi.
And I know like he's just like teasing her, but I don't know, for as many things as these movies insist on being super on the nose, like him trying to be subtle and jokey with her is not a good solution. I don't know, but just like Jar Jar in episode 1, it's a common criticism, but it's pretty justified, and it's not. It's tough to watch sometimes.
I think the love story. I think overall love story had to be there, like you said, but this wasn't executed well.
Mm-hmm. And as we move on to, you know, other movies in the franchise, there are other scenes that, like, I don't disagree with, you know, why the scene happened or its necessity, but like, yeah, it could have been done a lot better. There were other ways they could have gone about it, other choices of dialogue or choices of actors or of setting or of shooting even, that they just kind of dropped the ball.
How good is Across the Stars, though?
Oh yeah, that's one thing that is like really underappreciated about when people say, "Oh, the prequels are terrible." Duel of the Fates and Across the Stars are two of the best pieces of Star Wars music, of movie music, easily.
Yes.
If not my two favorites, which very well could be. And for people to say that the movie's like, "Oh, you don't even need to watch them; they have nothing of value," that's pretty short-sighted. And so yeah, that's the best part of the like when they do finally kiss for the first time after he explains him not liking sand, and that's why she should fall in love with him and not be a senator anymore. And they kiss, and then, you know, Across the Stars really plays. I don't know. There are lots of good moments in it, just like the movie in a whole. It has, you know, it's really good moments, but sometimes they're sort of lost in the shuffle of just the struggles with, you know, the screenplay and the dialogue and that sort of thing. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, since we're still on the subject of Padme and Anakin, I love, and Across the Stars for that matter, when they're entering the Geonosis battle arena. Mm-hmm. And she said, I actually really like this line. She says, "I've been dying a little bit each day since you've come back into my life." Right. And then they finally they kiss again, like for real, and the music plays. I love it.
She says, like, Anakin's like, "I thought you said we'd destroy our lives. Our lives are about to be destroyed anyway." Oh. Yeah. It's so sad.
It is.
That's another great scene, is the gladiator arena, and showing the Jedi have to use their wits in the Force and not just their lightsabers.
Right.
But then it gets hampered because, like, she seems to be on top of things. Like, come on, Obi.
But she's on top of the pole.
Oh, okay. I just didn't get it.
I don't have a problem with that. I am such a prequel apologist. I don't I have no problem with it at all.
Perfect. I really like the designs of the monsters too. I like how they don't really look like anything in Star Wars before, but they're also unquestionably a Star Wars monster.
Yep. I like the praying mantis.
Oh, the Acklay? Or perhaps the Reek, the giant one they ride? Or maybe you mean the Nexu, the little kitty that attacks Padme.
Yeah, I guess I do like them all. Never mind. Actually, I don't like the big rhinoceros.
Yeah, he's kind of simple. He's just a rhinoceros, like you said.
He's just a rhinoceros.
Anakin, it's a straight up rhinoceros. So what are some other things that you like before we move on to the not so good parts?
I don't know. I like the end. I like when all the Jedi show up and you see all the lightsabers ignite.
That's a cool moment.
Huh?
That's a cool moment when all the lightsabers ignite for the first. It's like, oh look, there's so many Jedi.
All of them.
We're used to there being one.
Right. I like that. I like everything.
Cause would you also rank Attack of the Clones as the weakest, or do you prefer it to or do you prefer it to Phantom Menace?
God, I'm scared to say. There's gonna be a lot of people who make fun of me. I like it. I like it better than New Hope.
Oh.
I know. And if it helps, I'm aware that I'm
Hey, that's all we can really ask for. But I mean, it's sort of like if you saw our Civil War review with Iceman and I and Science Century. If you grew up with the prequel movies, like the whole reason that people get so mad at that sort of a statement is because they're so nostalgic for the original movies, and like I sort of grew up with both because I had already seen them all, like we discussed in the last episode, the episode 1 discussion that is, but. I love them all. So, but if your first exposure to Star Wars is that, I mean, of course you're gonna hold it dear and love it. So, I don't know.
Attack of the Clones, especially, is when I really became a fan. Like I became a casual fan with Episode 1. With Episode 2 is when the obsession started.
So yeah, like of course it would resonate with you. So when I say I don't really like the ending, I guess I'm like certain things in the ending, just like the rest of the movie. Good parts and bad parts, like Anakin and Padme in the droid control or the droid factory.
I don't like the sequence at all.
Like
I don't know why. It's actually kind of cool. I feel like I should like it, but I usually actually skip over it a lot when I watch it.
Like it's visually cool, but it accomplishes very little. All it does is Padme and Anakin need to get captured, but it takes a long time, and it's so obviously like just look what we can do with CGI nowadays.
Right.
Like show off reel for ILM, and like they earned it. They can show off, but like I don't want to see C-3PO slinging around, bouncing off of stuff, making puns, like that's not, especially like we're approaching the climax of the movie. We just saw Obi-Wan and Jango. Obi-Wan gets beaten basically by Jango. Like this is like whoa, like crazy stuff is happening to the Jedi. We saw Anakin and Padme kiss, and we saw Anakin slaughter Tusken Raiders. Like what is going on? And then I'm programmed for etiquette, not destruction. Whoa. Like I think it just hurts the tone. Tone is a big problem throughout the prequels. Where they try too hard, especially since they were so set on making Phantom Menace really, really appeal to kids. And then they're like, well, by the end of this, he's going to murder children, so we kind of need to pull back on that a tiny bit. So, I don't know. That's a sequence I really don't like. I'm torn on this because I know lots of people really like it, but I'm not a big fan on Yoda dueling. At least not now. Save it for when he's fighting the Emperor.
Yes. That, I really think it was completely wasted, him dueling Dooku in Episode 2, because we already got a perfectly satisfactory fight with Dooku and Obi-Wan and Anakin. That could have been it. And then we get Yoda and Dooku as well, and I think Yoda dueling is awesome, but think of if they had saved it for Episode 3.
Right, after 6 Star Wars movies, 5 of them with Yoda. We finally, like, oh my god, like we didn't even know if he had a lightsaber. Like that was
right.
And then the Emperor, Yoda's like, I'm gonna go stop the Emperor. And we're like, okay. And then he pulls out a lightsaber. It's like, oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh. That's how that should have been. How cool would that have been if they'd saved that?
And
but who knows what thought process went into it? Why?
Right.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Who knows why?
Well, they had to sell Episode 2 Yoda with lightsaber toys. Is the thought process. I don't know. We needn't be so cynical about that. Like, who knows? People like to say, oh, it was just Toyetic, it's just to make money, but I can't remember if this was on the last episode or just when we talked on our spare time about Star Wars only ever. Like, it's George Lucas's movies. Maybe it was his plan all along. Like, that's what he wanted to do, is have Yoda fight. And it's his old apprentice, whoa, who turned to the dark side, whoa.
Yep. Yes to everything.
Okay, so, and another reason why I really agree with you about it sort of being sold short is, Dooku versus Obi-Wan and Anakin is the first, like, 2-on-1 handicap match we've really seen. And it's a cool thing to see. It's interesting that, like, wow, the Jedi have the numbers game for once. Like, we're used to, 1,000 million stormtroopers or battle droids and 1 or 2 Jedi, but now there are 2 Jedi on 1 Sith, and he still beats them. And I really, really like Count Dooku. I will hold forever that as much as I like Darth Maul, I wish it had been Dooku all along.
Yeah. I can go with that.
Especially since the prequels sort of suffer from just flavor of the month villain every single movie. Like, you have Darth Maul and then Dooku and Jango, who both basically die in Episode 2, since Dooku is killed off immediately in Episode 3.
Yeah.
And then 3 has Grievous. So that could have been remedied by just having Dooku be in it throughout. It would be cool, like, when you watch the Clone Wars show and, like, Dooku and Grievous, like, they get into it with them, but they escape. It's just like, hold off on that for longer. Like, just like with Yoda dueling, like, wait for that payoff of finally seeing Dooku fall or Darth Maul. Like, he had one fight and he gets killed. Like, we don't even really get to see what he can do.
He can't.
Nuh-uh.
He can't do it.
He can't do coup.
Is my response.
Is everyone's response. So the beginning of the movie, some other things I sort of have, I guess, sort of problems with. I guess really it's when the movie tries to be funny. Like when Anakin and Padme are being cute and flirtatious, or C-3PO bouncing off of stuff and whoa, or like when Anakin and Obi-Wan are chasing after Zam, the Clawdite shapeshifter bounty hunter from the beginning of the movie. Like, there's some parts of it that I really, really like, oh, I couldn't find a speeder I really liked. Like, that's clever, that's funny. But there's also, this is why I hate flying. I hate it when he does that. How often does he jump out of cars? I don't know.
Wasn't only just now coming out that he hates to fly, too.
Right. Yeah, like as if that was all he spent the last movie doing. It's like when he kills Grievous in Episode 3 with the blasters, if instead of saying so uncivil, he's like, this is why I hate blasters, when it's the first time he's ever touched one.
What? That's a great line, though. We'll talk about that in the next episode.
So, Episode 2, the worst Star Wars movie, but still excellent. It still establishes a lot of cool stuff. It has a lot of cool visual. I feel like it's more inspired visually than Episodes 1 or 3. Like, Kamino is one of my very favorite planets, and the Kaminoans are one of my favorite alien races. I like, even though like the character's not really necessary, I like how Dexter Jetso looks, and it's a cool idea. And it's obviously that it's Lucas was inspired from film noir or old serials or whatever, just like everything else. Like, he just goes to the diner and talks to the crazy old bartender. Like it's cool. It's a trope on purpose. So it has the bones of a much better movie than it ended up being.
I agree. That's a good way to put it.
So you have any closing thoughts on Episode 2, Attack of the Clones?
I'm sorry that so many of you will probably completely disagree with me and hate me, and I probably lost all my credibility as a Star Wars fan and as a person.
You gotta believe it'll be worse when we do episode 4, and you have to explain why it's worse than episodes 1 and 2. But
I love it. I can't help myself.
oh, there's nothing wrong with it.
I want to go watch it again right now.
I love Star Wars. And if you also love Star Wars, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any war stories, usually featuring Star Wars Battlefront, as you've seen on your screen today. We'll be continuing this Star Wars discussion. I believe the very next war story will be episode 3, depending on how my upload schedule ends up working out. I had to move some things around, but if not, later this week or the beginning of next week, it should be, you know, within the next few war stories, which go up every Tuesday and Thursday. But make sure you do subscribe because I have different content on the channel every single day. Thank you, as always, to Iceman for joining me, my co-host. He'll be back for all the rest of the Star Wars movie discussions that will be going on through the coming weeks and months. And that'll wrap it up for us today. I don't know about you guys, but we're full.